All right, let's get real. If you've ever felt like you had to convince a man to love you, chase you, or choose you, listen up. Because the second you detach from that mindset, you flip the script. There is nothing more magnetic than a woman who doesn't need anyone. She walks into a room and you feel her presence, not because she's trying, but because she's whole on her own. And that's powerful. So let's break this down. Why do men chase women who aren't constantly chasing them? Because energy doesn't lie. When you're desperate, it shows. When you're overthinking, waiting for his text, bending over backward to make him happy, that energy pushes him away. But when you're living your life focused on you, that's when they come running. It's not about playing games. It's about shifting your focus. You are the prize, not him, not the relationship, you. Men respect women who respect themselves. Period. The moment you stop over-investing in someone who's not matching your energy, you step into your power. You become a woman who isn't afraid to walk away, and that makes you irresistible. A woman who knows her worth doesn't cling. She attracts. And that's not just a cute saying, it's a fact. Think about it. When someone is desperate for your attention, constantly seeking reassurance, always needing validation, what happens? It drains you. It feels heavy. It makes you want to pull away. Now flip that around. When you meet someone who is confident, secure, and completely at peace with themselves, you're drawn to them. You want to be around them. That's the energy of a woman who doesn't cling, she attracts. Confidence is the most powerful thing you can wear. It's not about arrogance or acting like you don't care. It's about knowing deep down that you are already enough. Too many women get caught up in trying to prove their worth. They think if they love harder, give more, or become exactly what a man wants, he'll finally see their value. But that's backward. True attraction isn't built on proving yourself. It's built on being yourself. The problem is we've been conditioned to believe that love requires effort, that if you're not constantly doing something to keep a man's interest, you'll lose him. But real connection doesn't work that way. The women who attract men effortlessly aren't bending over backward trying to make it happen. They're just living their lives. They're focused on their own growth, passions, and happiness, and that energy is intoxicating. A woman who is secure in herself doesn't operate from fear. She doesn't stay up late analyzing his texts, wondering if she said the wrong thing or rearranging her life to fit into his. She doesn't need to. She trusts that the right person will recognize her value. She understands that love should feel natural, not forced. And because of that, she carries herself differently. She moves through life with certainty, with an ease that says, I know what I bring to the table. And men feel that. When you truly embrace your worth, you stop worrying about keeping someone. You stop overthinking their every move. You stop living in a state of anxiety, waiting for them to validate you. And ironically, that's when they start chasing you. Because confidence is magnetic. It's the one thing that makes you unforgettable. It's not about how you look, how much money you make, or how perfectly you fit into someone else's expectations. It's about the way you carry yourself, the way you know without a doubt that you are complete with or without them. This doesn't mean you don't care about love. It doesn't mean you play games or pretend to be indifferent. It means you approach relationships differently. You give, but you don't overgive. You love, but you don't lose yourself in the process. You enjoy the connection, but you don't make it your whole world. You understand that your happiness doesn't depend on another person. It starts with you. Men can feel when a woman is centered in herself. They can sense when she is choosing them, not needing them. And that distinction changes everything. When you stop clinging to relationships out of fear, you allow space for something deeper, something real. That's why the most irresistible women aren't the ones constantly chasing love. They're the ones so secure in themselves that love naturally finds them. The less you need someone, the more they want you. That's the secret most women overlook. When you make a man the center of your world, when your happiness, self-worth, and confidence are tied to his actions, you unintentionally push him away. Not because you're not worthy of love, but because neediness repels and emotional independence attracts. Think about the people you admire, the ones who have a natural presence. They don't walk into a room trying to prove themselves. They're not constantly looking for reassurance or seeking validation from others. They just are. They carry themselves with a quiet confidence that draws people in. That same energy applies in relationships. When you're emotionally independent, you don't come from a place of needing someone to choose you. Instead, you choose them while still being fully rooted in yourself. And that's the difference. Neediness is a heavy energy. It's the constant craving for attention, the overanalyzing of texts, the fear of losing someone before they're even gone. It shows up in the way you seek approval, the way you hesitate to set boundaries because you don't want to scare them away, and the way you overcompensate by giving more than you receive. But emotional independence? That's light, effortless, and magnetic. It's when you show up as your full self, not looking for someone to complete you, but simply sharing your life with them. When a woman doesn't need a man to feel whole, she naturally becomes more desirable, not because she's playing hard to get, but because she's living in a way that says, I am enough as I am. She's not constantly seeking validation, not rearranging her life to fit his, not afraid to speak her mind. She understands that her happiness isn't dependent on whether a man stays or goes. It's a mindset that shifts the entire dynamic of a relation. Instead of chasing someone's affection, she allows them to step up and meet her where she is. Men can feel when a woman is emotionally independent. It shows in the way she responds, the way she carries herself, and the way she doesn't panic when things don't go as planned. She's not afraid of silence. She's not glued to her phone waiting for a text. She's not obsessing over why he hasn't called. She's too busy living her life focused on her own goals, passions, and growth. And that confidence, that energy of I am whole with or without you, that's what makes her irresistible. It's not about pretending you don't care. It's about genuinely knowing that you'll be okay no matter what happens. When you have emotional independence, you don't settle for breadcrumbs. You don't tolerate behavior that disrespects you. You don't stay in situations that drain you because you're afraid of being alone. You trust yourself enough to walk away when something no longer serves you, and that self-trust is powerful. Men don't fall for women who chase them. They fall for women they feel lucky to have. And a woman who is emotionally independent, who is secure in herself, who doesn't base her worth on a man's attention, that's the kind of woman who captivates them. She's the one they can't forget, the one they respect, the one they know won't be easily replaced. At the end of the day, emotional independence isn't just about relationships. It's about how you show up in the world. It's about knowing your value, owning your worth, and never giving someone else the power to determine how you feel about yourself. Because the less you need someone to complete you, the more they'll be drawn to your strength, your confidence, and your undeniable presence. Men chase what they can't fully have. It's human nature. The moment something feels too easy, too predictable, or too available, we start to take it for granted. But when there's an element of mystery, an air of unpredictability, something just out of reach, that's when people become obsessed. This isn't about playing games or manipulating anyone. It's about understanding a simple truth. Being an open book with no mystery kills attraction. A woman who is mysterious isn't necessarily secretive. She's just not overexposing herself. She doesn't hand over her entire life story on a silver platter. She doesn't overshare her thoughts, emotions, or every little detail about her day. She holds some things back, not because she's hiding, but because she understands the power of curiosity. When a man has to wonder about her, when he doesn't have instant access to every part of her mind and heart, he stays engaged. He keeps coming back because he wants to learn more. Think about a book or a movie that keeps you hooked. It doesn't give everything away in the first chapter or the opening scene. It builds intrigue, piece by piece, keeping you on your toes. Relationships work the same way. If you reveal everything too soon, if there's nothing left to discover, attraction fades. Not because you're not interesting, but because there's no chase, no pull, no anticipation. Men are wired to pursue. They thrive on challenge. When a woman is slightly unpredictable, when she doesn't always respond the way he expects, when she has a life outside of him, she becomes a puzzle he wants to figure out. He starts thinking about her when she's not around. He replays conversations, wondering what she meant by certain things. He notices her confidence, the way she doesn't need him to entertain her, and it makes him want to be around her more. The mistake many women make is assuming that love means full transparency at all times, that if you like someone, you should tell them everything, always be available, and make it clear that they are your priority. But that's not attraction. That's overexposure. It's not about withholding love, but about letting things unfold naturally. Keeping a little mystery keeps the spark alive. A mysterious woman doesn't chase. She lets people come to her. She responds when she wants to, not out of obligation. She shares pieces of her world, but not all at once. She has an energy that says, there's more to me than you see right now. And that keeps a man hooked. He doesn't know what she's thinking all the time. He can't predict her every move. And that keeps him intrigued. The best part? This isn't about manipulation. It's not about playing hard to get. It's about actually being someone who has layers, who has depth, who isn't so easily figured out. It's about being a woman who has a full, rich life, hobbies, passions, friendships, goals, so that a relationship is part of her life, not the whole thing. When you're truly invested in yourself, when you are genuinely busy building something meaningful, you automatically become mysterious because you're not just sitting around waiting for someone to text you back. You have things to do. And that energy, that's irresistible. Men chase what they can't fully have because the unknown is exciting. When you hold back just enough to keep things interesting, when you don't reveal every thought, every feeling, every intention too soon, you naturally pull people in. And that's how you create lasting attraction, not by trying harder, but by keeping just enough mystery to leave them wanting more. Boundaries command respect. They are the invisible lines that define what you will and will not tolerate, and they determine the way people treat you. The truth is, a woman without boundaries is a woman who is often taken for granted. When you don't set limits, when you say yes to everything, when you allow disrespect to slide because you don't want to push someone away, you send the message that your needs don't matter. And the moment you do that, the balance of power shifts. Men respect women who respect themselves. It's as simple as that. If you don't set boundaries, if you allow yourself to be walked over, if you constantly put someone else's needs above your own, it creates an unspoken dynamic. Your feelings are secondary. And when your feelings become secondary, so does your value in that person's eyes. This isn't because men are intentionally cruel or dismissive. It's because people treat you based on the standards you set for yourself. Boundaries are attractive because they show confidence. When you have the strength to say, this is what I expect, this is what I will not tolerate, this is how I want to be treated, you immediately become someone worth respecting. A woman with boundaries doesn't beg for attention. She doesn't wait around for mixed signals to turn into something real. She doesn't keep excusing bad behavior because she hopes the person will change. She knows what she deserves, and she's not afraid to walk away if she's not getting it. Too many women confuse boundaries with walls. Walls block people out completely. Boundaries, on the other hand, create a framework for healthy relationships. When you set clear limits, you don't come across as distant or cold. You come across as someone who values herself. And that is something men notice. When you say no to things that don't align with your standards, you become instantly more desirable because you are proving that your self-respect matters more than temporary validation. The most powerful thing about boundaries is that they don't need to be announced with grand speeches or ultimatums. They are enforced through action. You don't need to tell someone, I won't tolerate being ignored. You show them by removing your presence when they take you for granted. You don't need to explain why you expect consistency. You simply disengage from people who don't provide it. Boundaries are not about controlling others. They are about controlling your response to how others treat you. Men are naturally drawn to women who have standards because those women don't seek external approval. They approve of themselves first. A woman with strong boundaries carries herself differently. She doesn't over-explain her worth. She knows that the right person will respect her limits, not try to push past them. The moment you start setting and enforcing boundaries, you'll notice something interesting. People either rise to meet your standards or they fall away. And that's a good thing, because anyone who disrespects your boundaries was never meant to be in your life in the first place. The men who are worth your time will step up. They will admire your self-respect. They will be drawn to your confidence. The power of boundaries is that they filter out the wrong people and attract the right ones. When you respect yourself enough to demand more, you stop settling for less. And the moment you do that, you step into a version of yourself that is unshakable, confident, and truly irresistible. Prioritizing yourself makes you irresistible. There is something undeniably magnetic about a woman who puts herself first, not in a selfish or careless way, but in a way that says, I know my worth and I will not abandon myself for anyone. When a woman operates from a place of self-fulfillment rather than seeking external validation, she becomes the kind of person people are drawn to. She radiates confidence, independence, and a quiet power that makes others take notice. Too many women fall into the trap of making someone else, especially a man, the center of their world. They rearrange their schedules, adjust their priorities, and slowly, without realizing it, lose themselves in the process of trying to keep a relationship going. But the moment you start living for someone else, you start fading. You become less of who you truly are and more of what you think they want you to be. And ironically, that is what makes attraction fade. A woman who prioritizes herself doesn't wait for someone to make her happy. She creates her own happiness. She doesn't put her dreams, goals, and ambitions on hold for a relationship. She understands that love should enhance her life, not consume it. When you live like this, when you put your personal growth, health, and passions first, you carry an energy that is undeniable. People are naturally drawn to those who have a strong sense of self because it signals that you are someone of value, someone who knows where she's going and isn't waiting for permission to get there. Men in particular are intrigued by women who are focused on their own lives. It's not about ignoring them or playing hard to get. It's about genuinely having a life that excites you with or without them. When a man sees that you are fulfilled on your own, he doesn't feel pressured to be your everything. Instead, he feels inspired to be part of your world, to earn a place in it. There's a difference between wanting someone and needing them, and that distinction is what keeps attraction alive. Prioritizing yourself also creates a natural sense of boundaries. When you are focused on your own well-being, you don't allow people to take advantage of you. You don't tolerate inconsistency, mixed signals, or half-hearted effort. You don't chase, beg, or compromise your self-respect. Instead, you operate from a place of abundance, knowing that your life is already rich and fulfilling, and anyone who enters it is simply adding to what you've built, not defining it. The most powerful thing about a woman who prioritizes herself is the way she carries herself. She walks with purpose. She doesn't seek approval. She doesn't overextend herself to keep someone interested. She knows that she is the prize, and that knowledge alone makes her magnetic. When you exude self-respect, people instinctively treat you with more respect. When you invest in yourself, people become more interested in you. This isn't about being unavailable or dismissive of love. It's about shifting your focus from seeking love to living in a way that naturally attracts it. When you fill your own cup first, when you chase your own goals and create a life that excites you, love finds you in the process. Not because you were looking for it, but because people are drawn to those who are already whole. A woman who prioritizes herself is unforgettable. She is the kind of woman who leaves an impression, who people want to be around, who never has to beg for attention because her energy alone is enough to command it. When you step into that version of yourself, everything changes. You stop chasing, stop settling, and start attracting the kind of love and respect that matches the way you treat yourself. Emotional control is one of the most powerful things a woman can master. It sets the tone for how people perceive you, how they treat you, and most importantly, how you feel about yourself. A woman who cannot control her emotions becomes reactive, constantly at the mercy of other people's actions, moods, and decisions. But a woman who remains calm, composed, and in control of herself commands respect and admiration. Too often, women are conditioned to believe that expressing every feeling immediately and openly is a sign of honesty and strength. While emotional expression is healthy, emotional reactivity is not. The difference between the two is control. When you react impulsively, whether it's through anger, desperation, jealousy, or anxiety, you hand over your power to someone else. You allow them to dictate your mood, your peace, and your sense of stability. But when you learn to pause, to breathe, to observe your emotions before acting on them, you take back control. Men in particular are deeply affected by a woman's emotional energy. They can sense when a woman is easily triggered, overly dependent on their actions, or constantly seeking reassurance. And while they may tolerate it for a while, over time, it becomes draining. On the other hand, when a man is around a woman who is emotionally composed, who doesn't fall apart at the slightest inconvenience, who knows how to handle challenges with grace, he is drawn to her. He respects her. He sees her as someone of high value because emotional stability is a rare and attractive trait. Mastering emotional control doesn't mean suppressing your feelings. It means understanding them, processing them, and responding intentionally rather than impulsively. It means knowing that not every comment, every unanswered text, every moment of uncertainty deserves a reaction. It means developing the ability to self-soothe rather than expecting someone else to regulate your emotions for you. When a woman learns to control her emotions, she also learns to control her outcomes. Instead of pushing people away with emotional outbursts or desperate behavior, she draws them in with her sense of balance. Instead of sabotaging relationships with impulsive words or actions, she strengthens them by choosing her responses wisely. And most importantly, she stops wasting energy on people and situations that are unworthy of her peace. Men are wired to seek peace in relationships. They are naturally drawn to women who bring a sense of calm rather than chaos. When a woman is unpredictable, emotionally erratic, or always in a state of crisis, a man will instinctively pull away, not because he doesn't care, but because he doesn't want to be caught in the emotional storm. But when a woman carries herself with poise, when she doesn't let every little thing shake her, when she handles difficulties with emotional maturity, she becomes someone he wants to be around. This doesn't mean you never express emotions. It means you do so in a way that is intentional and measured. You communicate clearly rather than emotionally dumping. You take time to process before reacting. You don't let your emotions make decisions for you, especially when those decisions involve relationships. You understand that emotional control is not about pretending you don't care. It's about showing that you respect yourself enough to respond with dignity. The most powerful woman in any room is not the loudest or the most reactive. She is the one who holds her ground, who remains steady no matter what happens around her, who refuses to let outside forces dictate her inner peace. When you become that woman, you stop chasing validation, you stop reacting to everything, and in doing so, you become the kind of woman that men and people in general can't resist. Walking away is one of the most powerful things a woman can do. It sends a message that no amount of words ever could. It shows self-respect, strength, and an unshakable belief that she deserves better. A woman who is willing to walk away doesn't do so out of anger, bitterness, or an attempt to manipulate. She does it because she knows her worth and refuses to settle for anything less than what aligns with her values and needs. Many women stay in situations far longer than they should, hoping that things will change, that the person will suddenly realize their value, that the disrespect, inconsistency, or emotional neglect will somehow correct itself. But the truth is, people treat you how you allow them to treat you. If you tolerate mistreatment, it will continue. If you keep accepting less than what you deserve, that's exactly what you'll get. When a woman walks away from something that no longer serves her, whether it's a relationship, a toxic friendship, a dead-end situation, she immediately sets herself apart. She becomes someone who cannot be taken for granted, someone who will not waste time trying to prove her worth to someone who refuses to see it. Someone who values herself enough to choose peace over chaos, self-respect over attachment, and confidence over desperation. Men, in particular, pay attention when a woman is willing to walk away, not because she's playing games, but because it proves something crucial. She is not afraid to be alone. A woman who clings, begs, or tolerates disrespect out of fear of losing someone is easy to overlook. But a woman who says, if this doesn't meet my standards, I will leave, that's a woman who commands attention. Because deep down, men know that a woman like that is rare. Walking away doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care about yourself enough to not stay where you're not valued. It means you're not going to waste your energy convincing someone to treat you right. It means you understand that the right people, the ones truly meant for you, will never put you in a position where you have to beg for love, respect, or attention. When you walk away, you also give yourself the space to attract something better. You make room for people who truly see your value. You create an energy that says, I don't settle, I don't chase, I don't beg. I attract what aligns with my worth. That kind of energy is powerful. It is magnetic. It draws in the right people and repels the wrong ones. There is a quiet confidence in a woman who walks away without drama, without needing to explain, without seeking closure that will never come. She doesn't need to make a scene. She doesn't need to prove anything. She simply chooses herself, and in doing so, she shifts the dynamic entirely. Because here's the truth. When a woman is willing to walk away, she becomes unforgettable. People remember the ones they couldn't take for granted, the ones they had to respect, the ones who had the strength to say, I deserve more, and I won't stay where I am not fully appreciated. The moment you embrace this mindset, everything changes. You stop fearing loss. You stop trying to control other people's actions. You stop clinging to situations that aren't right for you. And in that shift, you gain power, the kind of power that makes you irresistible. Because nothing is more attractive than a woman who knows her worth and isn't afraid to walk away to protect it. The most irresistible woman is the one who knows her worth, stands firm in her boundaries, prioritizes herself, controls her emotions, and isn't afraid to walk away when something no longer serves her. She doesn't chase, beg, or compromise her self-respect for the sake of being chosen, because she chooses herself first. And in doing so, she naturally attracts the right energy, the right people, and the right love into her life. Men are drawn to women who exude confidence, independence, and emotional stability. They admire women who refuse to settle, who don't allow disrespect, who live fulfilling lives on their own terms. A woman who detaches from outcomes, from seeking validation, from needing someone else to define her happiness, she holds a power that is undeniable. So if you want to be truly irresistible, stop looking outward for approval. Turn inward. Strengthen your sense of self. Build a life that excites you with or without anyone else. Love yourself so deeply that anyone who enters your life must rise to meet your standards. Because when you step into that version of yourself, the woman who is confident, self-sufficient, and unshakable, you won't have to chase anything. Everything meant for you will come naturally, and that is true power.